Hello everyone, welcome to Full Tech Stack. I am Akash and this is part 6 of asp.NET MVC 5 series. In the part 5, we discuss the default folder structure of asp.NET MVC 5 application. And in this video, we will have the understanding of routing in asp.NET MVC 5 application. Now, before getting started with asp.NET MVC routing, let us understand the need of having it. Like, why do we have routing in asp.NET MVC? So guys, in ASP.NET Web Forms, we need to have .aspx file corresponding to every request URL made. For example, for a request URL http domain home.aspx, they must present a home.aspx file that will contain the code for displaying the output or the response on the browser. Home3.aspx URL will have home3.aspx file. Home4.aspx URL will have home4.aspx and so on. Now imagine if you have to create a physical file for each URL. So it would generate piles of files. Therefore ASP.NET MVC introduced routing. Using routing, we can map a URL with a controller or action method. In ASP.NET MVC, we do it like this. Let's say we have URL domain home. So it can be mapped with home controller and index action method. Now let us have a closer look at it. What is routing? In very simple words, routing is just a way to call the controllers and their action methods. With routing, we can create user-friendly URLs by configuring them according to our convenience. We can configure these routes in the route.config file, and this route.config file is present under the app start folder that we have already discussed in the part 5 of this series. Also remember that these configured routes are stored in a virtual table. This virtual table is called as the route table. So we can conclude that routing is a pattern matching system that enables to map the incoming browser request that is made by the end user to a particular action that is written inside the controller. Now I will demonstrate how routing engine deals with an incoming request at runtime. First, a URL is passed on the request made by the end user. Then the URL gets passed and then the system tries to locate the matching route with the routing pattern defined in the route table. After that, if the URL is found, then it is processed by the appropriate controller, generating a response. Otherwise, it returns an HTTP 404 error. So, this is how we fire target controller and the action method with the help of routing engine. I guess by now you know how a request in MVC gets processed with the help of routing. Let us now look at some important points related to ASP.NET MVC 5 routing. First, routing engine uses the route table for matching the incoming request URL patterns against the URL patterns defined in the route table. That sounds a bit complicated, but this simply means that the routing engine uses the route table to determine the target action and controller of the incoming request URL. Next, route config file is used for adding the routing rules, meaning that we require route.config file for configuring routes. We register routes in the global ASAX file. We are skipping this point for now and we will see this in action soon. We invoke a register route method in application start method. This means that in application start method, we invoke register route method for registering the routes. Next and last, routing can also be used to set up the startup page of the application. This simply means that we can also use routing to set the startup page for ASP.NET MVC 5 application. Types of routing in ASP.NET MVC. ASP.NET MVC was launched with convention routing. And with ASP.NET MVC 5, Microsoft came up with another type of routing, that is attribute routing. For now, we will wrap up this part here and we will understand convention routing and attribute routing in another part of ASP.NET MVC 5 series. Do not miss out the next part guys, cause we will also understand custom routing, in the next part, which is a very important topic, so please do not miss out. Thanks for watching, like, share and subscribe. Also drop in your valuable feedback in the comment section.